Hi, David. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Mr. David Douglas, can you hear me?
Goku, I can hear you, Mrs. Alf.
Loud and clear?
Very clear, very loud, even with background noise.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much indeed for connecting with us wherever you are connecting with us from. It is 2 p.m. here in Ghana, it's supposed to be 3 p.m. in Nigeria, and also 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. I want to say a very big thank you to all of you for joining us for the third day and the third session of the Africa Investment Expo, what we are describing as a global stage for opportunity. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the Africa Investment Expo is an annual event dedicated to promoting international business opportunities and facilitating trade and investment across areas such as mining, oil and gas, solar energy, real estate, agriculture, and also pharmaceutical and tourism. We just want to announce to all of you that the prestigious event has been facilitated by the United States Presidential Service Center in partnership with David Douglas Leadership Forum, Global Chamber of Commerce, the Ghana American Chamber of Commerce, the World Congress and Legislature, and the United States Presidential Culinary Museum. And it's all targeted at promoting trade and investment in Africa. I want to say a very big thank you to the rest of our guests who joined us in the past to share with us what it seems to be the nuances and all there is to know in the world of investment. So we are very grateful that all of you can join us this afternoon. And once again, we have everybody on. I'm going to be telling you shortly about who is on today, who are our guests who will be leading us in today's session. But most importantly is to take a quick welcome from the man himself who sits in all of this. He is the glue and the adhesive that ties all of us together. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome David Douglas to share with us a quick welcome address. I'll be back to share with you on who exactly will be our guest today. Mr. David Douglas, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lumon. It's always exciting to see great men and women on this call. Today is the third day of this event, and so far, we will thank the Almighty God for taking us through everything successfully. As you did indicate, this platform is actually designed and I would say thoughtfully put together to support African countries in terms of investment. Investment is what we need at this crucial time to help us in national development. For countries to grow and for African countries to grow, we need investors to invest in the areas which we have couched. Invest in the mining sector because Africa has all the resources that the world need to be able to do what we need to do. However, Africa is the custodian of all these natural resources which we have, and it is prudent for us to ensure that we get these investors, drive them in, and to be able to connect with the right people to do what they need to do. There are times, as I did mention earlier also, there are times that investors complain, just like Dr. Werner did indicate yesterday, getting in the hand of the wrong people when they try to come to Africa to do investment and without getting the right people. So this platform is put together to connect with people who want to connect with the right people on the land. And that is the reason why LVS Africa has officially been appointed to be the official organization that can receive these investors. And we encourage everybody who is connecting with us. If you have any business proposal in the area of mining, in the area of real estate, in the area of agriculture, what you want to do, what you need to do, we have here with us Mr. Kojo Mata, and I know he will be sharing his contact with all of us in due time. where we can, forward our proposals to him, because they are the organization that we have appointed to receive proposals from Africa that we can present to these investors and then do business pitching with them. Thank you very much. And I will encourage all of us to remain glued to our seats. Today will be another interesting day where we have speakers coming all the way from Nigeria, Ghana, and in the United States, who will be gracing this occasion. So thank you all and enjoy the session. Mr. Lumo, if you can hear me.
Thank you very much. Mr. Douglas, if you said something, you might want to repeat yourself again. I didn't seem to get you.
I'm done. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm done. You can go ahead. I'm done. Hello, Mr. Lumo. You need to unmute yourself. Okay.
Absolutely. Can you hear me now?
Very well.
Very well. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Douglas. We want to say a very big thank you to all those who led us through from the very first day. Ambassador Dr. Tanya Simons was here with us on the very first day, leading us through the issues of harnessing investment funding. Also, we heard from the representative of Chief Al-Hassan and Dani on the second day. And of course, Apostle Dr. Werner Alsting also joined us. We're quite privileged yesterday as well because Mr. Phillips, Professor Phillips Okolo, who touched on the investments opportunity in mining, oil and gas, and solar energy, also came through for us, connected all the way from Nigeria. Later today, we're expected to have two sessions, if you like, or two, and of course with a closing remarks. The very first one John Kelvin Onyekachi, forgive me for the break, and also investment opportunities in agriculture later on. Mr. Francis Osei will be joining us, and then we'll have the closing remarks by Mr. Kujo Mata, who's here with us and has been monitoring from day one. And so I guess we just have to jump straight to action this afternoon. And if it's okay, and we have Mr. John Kelvin Onyekachi with us. He is, as I said earlier, a serial entrepreneur, property developer, real estate investment advisor, a corporate trainer, public speaker, and a business consulting professional from southeastern Nigeria. He joins us to share with us financing real estate projects in Africa, the experience of the African entrepreneur. I think it's a very good one. And now that we've had a lot of businesses springing up, as far as that phenomenon real estate is concerned, I think it's a good time to want to hear what his experiences are, his advice, and the way forward. And so we can have a forward march as far as that is concerned. Let's now welcome Mr. John Kelvin Onyekachi, if he's ready. Take it away, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kwakulumo. John is joining us in a minute. So if you don't mind, you want to take us or give us a recap on what really happened on the first day. That is great. John is joining us in a minute. Thank you very much.
Well, very well. As I stated earlier, I thought it was a good session from day one, where Dr. Tanya Simons led us through what was how we can position ourselves to harness investment funding. And so for me, quite a major feat. And we had a lovely session. We then went ahead to for the second day, Dr. Verna J. Alsting, she brought a different dimension to the discussion. She was that frank with us to ensure that she shared with us frustrations that investors on the African continent go through. She was very, if you like, charitable enough to share with us some of the frustrations she had here in Ghana doing business. And of course, the day couldn't have ended on a good note, because Professor Okolo joined us to share with us what he thought is hope, and of course, hope for the future. He also shared with us a number of things Nigeria and Ghana are doing on the fronts of, if you like, regulatory framework across these two countries that are opening up. He also intimated that Nigeria as a country has a new framework that has to do with oil and gas. And so, of course, investors are welcome to get in there. I also asked a question, a very good question, one that has to do with solar energy. Because if you look at Nigeria as a country, it's obvious that they are struggling with electricity. So I was curious enough to ask how they are utilizing the issues of solar energy to bridge the gap in the country as far as electricity and the electrification project is concerned. He intimated that the university he works for is open to doing business. Indeed, committees have been set up from some multidisciplinary committee has been set up to ensure that they speak about solar energy as far as the university is concerned. And so I thought the conversations from day one and day two have set the tone for what we are about to see today. Today is real estate, and I'm very interested in that as well, just like a lot of people are interested in. Again, quite a number of economies in Africa as well run agrarian in nature. And so one of the things you want to look at is agriculture. And beyond that, what I want to hear, my expectation today is that it doesn't have to do with lip service, practical solutions in ensuring that we open the platform out to investors who will move above the bottlenecks and the hurdles that some of the people present to the investors. And so I'm looking forward to a very good one. I can see Mr. Francis Ose ready for us. I can see Mr. Kujumata, who will be giving the closest remarks, also ready for us. He is with LVS Africa, who is in the center of all of this. And so that's just by way of a recap. I'm excited. If John is ready, you can take Mr. Douglas.
Yes, thank you very much, Kweku. I think at this point, we can receive Mr. Francis to begin with his session for us to save time. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. John Kelvin Onyekachi, if you're ready, the mic is yours. Let us know what you make of the real estate industry in Africa.
Yes, so Mr. Francis can take us on whilst John will join us later to present on real estate. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know, I've uploaded my presentation. I'm wondering if you are seeing my screen, and I could go on.
We can see your screen very clear.
Good. All right. So thank you very much for this opportunity on this great platform. For starters, my name is Francis Osei. I run an agribusiness consulting firm, which we normally say is a boutique firm because our focus is everything agric and beyond that, we don't look at anything. And then I also chair a couple of companies that are in the agribusiness sector, one of which is the Ghana Nuts Limited. This afternoon, we want to look at an afternoon in Accra. We want to look at the investment opportunities in Accra in agriculture. I guess, and I assume that what would apply for the case of Ghana would largely apply for other West African countries, as and when it becomes necessary. I would give back. The idea is to share the opportunities that exist in West Africa. All right. So, as an overview, West Africa agriculture forms about 24% on average in terms of GDP, and the sector has seen some growth. It varies from country to country, but on average about 2% over the last 5 years. Other issues that we want to touch on which impact on investment opportunities are what appears to be the increasing food import bills for countries within West Africa, but also largely for the entire region of Africa. It is stated that Nigeria has about 10 billion currently in terms of import bill, importing things like wheat, poultry, fish, food service, and other consumer-oriented foods. The case of Ghana, every year, we have, in the past few years, we have been registering about $2.7 billion. For Africa as a whole, it is projected that by 2025, our food import bill will be about $110 billion. As a proxy to what happens in the agricultural field, I just wanted to share in terms of mechanization and using just tractor as an indicator. Ghana, for example, needs figure that we need about 30,000 tractors, but currently we have about 2,000 for currently in Ghana. And then for each hectare of land, for each 1,000 hectares of land, there are only 2 tractors that are available. Now, I'm using this as a proxy on the back of a story that I'm sure all of us have heard, that a company sent this sales, a company that was into the manufacturing of shoes sent its sales managers to a location, and the one came and said, well, I don't think we have market because the people don't wear shoes. Another salesperson said, look, we have huge market opportunity because the people don't wear shoes. So if we are spending as much as $10 billion a year, in the case of Nigeria, to import food, it gives us an idea about the opportunity that exists in Nigeria, and for that matter also in Ghana, about how much we need to do to be able to stem this importation of these very huge import bills and reduce them as much as possible, because all of you know that the higher the amount, the more it disrupts our macroeconomic indicators and create more problems for our economies. Taking Ghana as a particular case, for example, the 2.7 billion for year 2020, we spent it on what? On rice, which we import a lot and eat a lot of so-called perfumed rice, cereals, including wheat, meat and edible meats, animals and vegetable fats and oils, sugars and sugar confectionaries, beverages, spirits and vinegar, fish and crustaceans, then cereals in the form of flour and starch and milk and other preparations, as well as meat and fish preparations and coffee, tea, and spices. Now, we spend a lot of money importing these things, there's the other side of it is that there are a lot of them that we could produce locally. I'm going to look at the opportunities from various perspectives. So in terms of technology, we want to look at irrigation. Only 4% of lands are currently irrigated. The opportunities for various types of irrigation equipment that are needed to augment agriculture, especially in our current situation of climate change, which is very clear, is here with us. All right. So various types of irrigation equipment provide opportunities. I've spoken to mechanization, huge opportunities for agri mechanization in the form of tractors. I think that in Ghana currently, there's no entity that is even assembling tractors, and here we have a very low tractor density for agriculture that provides huge opportunities. In terms of processing technology, there are a number of opportunities. We ran significantly low on infrastructure, training and skills development gaps exist. There's a need, opportunities for construction of processing plants, for energy plants which are needed for processing, and then also for processing equipment, and basic things that are steel fabrications which are needed in the processing environment. Then other forms of technology, greenhousing, which is now beginning to catch up a little in Ghana. I presume it's the same for Nigeria, but it presents opportunities for local fabrication and local installation, as it's a technology that assures higher yields for the type of crops that can be grown using greenhouses. Then the one of the big things has to do with warehousing. Huge gaps, huge deficits. Recently, we're looking at some assignment by the IFC to look at warehousing systems and adequacy in Ghana. We have a deficit of about 200,000 metric tons. In fact, the absence of the warehouse is also leading to a lot of post-harvest losses when we speak about grains and other things. When we talk about cold storage, we run huge deficits as well, which in turn also provide opportunities for all things that need to be held under cold storage, such as vegetables and fruits, as well as for fish and meat and meat products. Right. There are other opportunities specifically in the production phase in the agricultural sector. Generally, yields are low, below average for every major crop in West Africa. It offers opportunities for agricultural seed breeding of various crops, as well as also the importation of high-yielding seeds and planting materials that are needed to assure increased production and productivity for the various value chain crops that we have. Talk about rice, talk about maize, talk about soybean, talk about even tree crops, oil palm and all. There's really the need for higher yielding varieties, which huge, which present huge investment opportunities. Poultry is another major thing. In Ghana, for example, we import 95% of our poultry meat on record. We produce the remaining 5% is the mixture of some layers, and therefore, when they have become old and spent, they enter into the meat chain. and then largely the poultry industry has just become an egg making machine, and that's all we do. And a few people do broilers, which is not able to compete largely with the imported poultry meat from a number of areas. But there's huge opportunity for that into Ghana and other West African countries. Right. It also offers opportunities for the establishment of hatcheries and feed production plants. And then I've already spoken to broiler production, where we actually import 95%. So if you set up a broiler production plant here and you're efficient, you obviously will take a significant chunk of that market that is actually facing us now. The other things like agricultural inputs of various types, fertilizer, plant protection agents, and other inputs for the animal production sector, vitamins, veterinary products, etc. All present huge opportunities for us. Indeed, when it comes to production of vegetables, largely an open field production approach. But like I mentioned earlier, the greenhousing presents a more controlled environment. Also, that also assures higher yield. The markets for vegetables and for fruits keep growing as the populace become more urbanized, and the perception and understanding of the role of these food types in the health of individual consumers. So huge opportunities. Sad to say that even in Ghana, when you go to some of the big supermarkets, you will see imported vegetables and fruits, which also clearly shows opportunities for investment in that. Then we have warehousing. I've spoken to warehousing already. Operation of cold storage facilities, both freezing as well as ordinary refrigeration facilities for various types of food that must be kept intact. When it comes to production of vegetables, largely seasonal, which creates situations where during the off-season prices can shoot up about 200% above the price in the normal harvest season, and also creates opportunities for storage of these crops or produce, such that one can take advantage of the increase in price based on the demand and supply situation that goes with it. All right. The opportunities to add value to various types of crop produce. We can talk about onions, we can talk about tomatoes, we can talk about ginger and other spices that in one breath are exhibit glut on the market, and in other areas become seriously in short supply, that push up the price significantly, like I mentioned earlier. There's really the opportunity to manufacture, to process, to add value to these commodities, to be able to produce year round and stabilize prices, but also, of course, make a lot of margins on the back of the preservation that accompanies the activities. Issues with processing of foods, and then, of course, there are a number of tree crops that whose produce or commodities can also be processed. We can talk about cocoa. Still a lot of room for cocoa processing, adding value before they are exported. We still export a lot of our cocoa cocoa beans, for example, from Ghana. The other opportunities in the shea nut space, which currently there are few operators in the primary processing phase. There are a lot of opportunities in the mid and then the downstream processing activities, like processing of cocoa butter equivalents, or splitting shea butter into shea styrene and shea olein, with the shea styrene moving into the cocoa butter equivalent industry and other food industry, and the olein moving into cosmetics, and in some cases even the pharmaceutical companies, as well as some food industries. All these present huge opportunities for investors to take advantage of us, because largely we export these as raw materials, to their various destinations without adding any values. And there's clearly the opportunity to add value and glean the profits or the margins that come through value addition. Of course, when it comes to availability of power and things in Ghana, power is available for manufacturing, and you can be assured that you would have various types of energy to do what you want to do. The other things that border on services that could be used to augment the agricultural sector are things relating to credit, relating to other services that go directly to agri production, like mechanization services, insurance services that are there, as well as private extension services that could change the game in the agricultural sector. Largely, predominantly smallholder type of environment who needs to be supported to produce, to increase their yield, to increase their productivity, and therefore to increase their output. Right. So I have seen in the course of my work, I've seen opportunities. There are actually existing opportunities for cassava processing into either starch or to ethanol. And the ethanol could enter the beverage industry or could enter the health industry or pharmaceutical industry for that matter. The opportunities that I know of that deal with processing of cocoa beans into more midstream and downstream products, some of which are used locally and some of which are exported. Then we talk about cereals, processing into animal feed, into infant feed formulas, and into other other cereal-based products, that some of which we even end up importing into the country. Then the opportunities for poultry and poultry processing, as well as fish or aquaculture and aquaculture processing that exist. The Volta Lake and other rivers in the country are sure places to produce a lot of aquaculture in the country. Then processing of shea, huge opportunities there that I know of, into the crude butter, which is a midstream activity, and then the downstream activity, like I mentioned, shea styrene, shea olein, that has higher value, and because of demand and supply, have real higher margins associated with them. All right. Then, of course, the details of consumption and import substitution present huge opportunities for maize and maize products, various types of maize products which are available, soybean and soybean products, from soybean oil to soybean meal, which can be used for various things. Rice is a major import substitution opportunity, as we more or less produce barely 50% of what we consume in Ghana at the moment. Then, of course, opportunities for oil palm, which also finds itself in various other processing industries. Ghana is a producer of oil palm, but it's a net importer of oil palm, meaning that there are opportunities with the various oil palm estates that exist and industry demand for oil palm and products. Then coconuts, oil, cashew, and fruits for which can be processed into either juice or dried fruits and many other forms of end products. These opportunities they exist, and these are just but a few of the opportunities that exist within the sub-region that are available for investors to take advantage of. And I'm sure that when you contact the coordinators, LVS, they'll be able to help you with some of these projects. Thank you very much. I think I'll pause here and probably take questions at the right time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. We're grateful. And that's Mr. Francis Osei. He is regarded as one of the best in the business as far as consultancy on issues of agribusiness is concerned. And he just took us through. I just want to start off before I invite others. Where just about last week or so engaged a former MP and a minister of state that said, look, as far back as 2008, he imported water, a commodity like water, to the country for the can 2008. I'm saying this within the context of an investor who is here or a friend of ours somewhere else who has, if you like, some available loans in his or her country, with low interest rates, is able to come and has spoken to people around. And it seems as though there are rather tax exemptions for issues of importing into the country, rather than, investing in the issues of production. How are you able to convince us, help us understand that, we're a destination where once you bring your funds in, all of these bottlenecks, and you have some very goodies to safeguard your investment, and you could do more. I want to hear something like that. It will be very encouraging and truly will represent why we're here, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that when it comes to investment incentives, in fact, the GIPC, Ghana Investment Promotion Authorities Act, provides various forms of incentives, including the right to repatriate your earnings out of Ghana without any restraint whatsoever. The only proviso is that you have to make sure that you go according to what the act says. So you register the business, you register all the inflows that you bring in, and as long as those are established, when it is time for you to expatriate your investment and your returns out of the country, we have sufficient laws to protect you. There are also other incentives under the Free Zones Act. So if you have you set up a factory that whose products can be exported, or a production system whose products can be exported, if has 70% or more can be exported, you have various forms of incentives as well, tax breaks, duty exemption for equipment, and other, even including vehicles that you can take advantage of under the Free Zones Act for Ghana, for example. All right. And then under the tax law, there are also other incentives that you can take advantage of. I know for a fact that even under the tax laws, there are provisions that you could take advantage of. Some reduction in the payment of power tariffs if you are using it for agriculture. Right. What is important is that you engage and you establish that, and once the various institutions register what you intend to do, then you can access those exemptions and those incentives. No more. I guess that will be okay.
Yeah, of course. It helps for a start. Now we want to open the floor for questions. If you have any question at all, you can let us know. You can either use the reaction button, or you can just shoot straight and ask your questions. Remember that there are other investors online who are ready to share either the same concerns with you or even to help you. While we are at it as well, you can also send requests and your project's investment opportunities and potential investors can also send their comments or whatever it is, the projects they have, to info@lvsafrica.com or kmata@lvsafrica.com. You can see it in your comment section and do as well. Well, now let's open the floor for questions. The floor is now open, sir. Are there any questions as far as agribusiness investment or investment in agriculture is concerned? You can ask now, so we provide answers to them.
Good afternoon. This is Alf Domakwa. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation, Francis. Very good in terms of the investment opportunities. Yes, they're not wearing shoes, so the market is open, so to speak. How are you deploying? As you said, you use the sample of tractors being a representative of how there is, shall we say, not lack of, let's put it this way, there's a lot of room for improvement in agriculture in Ghana, West Africa. How are we using technology to reassure investors in the agri sector that this can be improved? I'm in the satellite industry and also in the agri industry. You probably have heard of, you may or may not have heard of Sea to Table or Fish to Table, where we're using satellite information to develop crops and taking the seed literally right through this right through the environments through to when it's placed on the table, including, as you're saying, warehousing, processing, and all that. Because what I'm failing to see at the moment in the Africa sub-region, sub-Sahara, especially, is the joined up aspects from the time you plant. Some people, I want to do farming, and as you say, post harvest, there's a lot of waste. Now, what is going into building factories, building storage, building processing? Could you elucidate or expand on that a little bit? Because people would probably want to invest more in that which is more assured if you've got shall we say, the food in storage or processed in cans and preserved and stuff like this. There's a valuable commodity that can be easily exported without obviously perishable items if it's already preserved in some way. And that aside, with the growth of the continent going past 1.4 billion and the World Health Organization's predictions of the planet going to by 10 billion by the year 2050, food shortage is going to be a major problem. And since Africa has the largest arable land on the planet, investments in agriculture is the business. But however, we need to be there on the ground, and we need to start investing properly in the end-to-end production of edible food.
Right.
Well, I mean,
thanks very much for your question. I agree with you. In fact, technology has become a major enabler for everything, including agriculture, and assuring improved tracking, yield, productivity, and processing. There are, especially now that we see a certain trend of young people, young educated people who want to move into the agri space, who are very much likely to appreciate the adoption and utilization of these technologies. I guess it presents huge opportunities because they have the capacity to understand and to leverage these technologies. Until now, our production has largely been smallholder farmers, most of whom may not be literate, right? I won't say educated, but literate, and therefore there has always been the penchant or the tendency that they will be slow at adopting these technologies. Even there, for most of the inclusive business, agribusiness entities that are more models that are around, where a big guy, like a company, has a partnership with smallholder farmers who produce for them, and there are a number of them around. You typically would see that the big anchor entity has capacity to help the smallholder farmers take advantage of such technologies. I have a gentleman that sits in the uppermost part of the country, who used to be a university lecturer, who is using satellite, to determine when is the right time for him to get his farmers, who he has partnership with, to plant and have an understanding of how the rainfall season is likely to go for the season, and how they should therefore prepare and mitigate some risk there. So that enabler is beginning to show. You see young persons leveraging on apps, and other forms of emerging technologies to facilitate access to tractors, access to production equipment, as well as access to haulage and warehousing. That is also emerging. Tractor, for example, one of such entities that has leverage on technology and is helping farmers to access tractor services, because it operates like the Uber kind of thing in the tractor space, where somebody who have a tractor may not know that the farmer 10 miles away from him needs tractor services, and they connect them. So that opportunity exists. I think that it's how it is onboarded and creating the obvious, making the obvious case for it amongst the right people, either young, educated individuals, or leveraging the capacity of anchor agribusiness companies who have large smallholder farmers who can use it for their business. could be a game changer for people like yourselves who want to introduce the technology into the sector.
Thank you very much for that answer. If I may extend the question, if that's all right with you, Koku, that would be great.
Absolutely.
What is being done, for instance, in the fishing arena? I know that, again, having been in the satellite industry or the space industry for a little bit, we are sending a lot of data to Africa for free. One of the stations is at University of Ghana, Legon. It's being run by Dr. Ajikum, where we can tell you or give you a 10-day fishing forecast. So we can tell you, go to Christianborg Castle, go 5 kilometers southeast, and you'll get tuna. But don't go today because the sea levels are going to be is going to be rough, 2-meter high seas. It's going to be okay on Wednesday. The seas are going to be calm. This technology has been, I mean, we bring the Africans to Europe and we give them training. They have we give them the data. We set up the data sessions for them in Africa because most of our satellites are geostationary over literally Ghana, just south of Ghana, 00, 36,000 kilometers up. And we can we have this data, which we have been feeding Africa for. I was part of a team that the AU talked to the EU, which talked to the agency I work with now, to provide that data to Africa. And it's been available for quite some time, yet I still hear, quite unfortunately for me, ministers of government saying, do not fish because blah, blah, blah in this season because the stocks are getting low. When I can literally, for want of a biblical example, say, cast your net on the other side and you'll be fishers of tons of fish. We can tell you where to go and fish, when to go and fish, what kind of fish you're going to get. And then you tell us, oh, we've closed down the, of canoes because there's too much fishing and for the next 2 years. I mean, it makes, not being funny, but absolutely zero sense to me. So can you, and I mean, the other thing is to develop something like that. For me, it's so logical, and it's something that I'm working on at the moment with providing apps to the fishermen to tell them where to fish, get digital currencies in such that the fishermen have accounts, get the buyers in so that they can also set up cold storage along the landing bays. You allegedly you have a factory in around the Cape Coast Takoradi kind of area where the factory shut down because of lack of fish. For me, it makes absolutely zero sense, and I can't get to grips with why you're frustrating investors, especially when there's a need that could supply the fishermen or the fisher folks on the coast. I was in Ghana in November. I was pulling nets on pulling boats was it Danu area, Hajranao area, pulling with the fishermen, got all the pictures and all that. And technology put a wrench there to pull the boats in, to pull the fish in, set it up. I mean, I don't understand why we're not looking at that kind of thing. All we complain is that the Chinese have got trawlers out there stealing our fish, but they're stealing what is they're taking what is not being caught. I don't agree with it, but the fish are just going to grow there and do nothing, and people need to be fed, and they are feeding people. Whereas we can send our canoes, assuming they're allowed to be built. I don't know whether anything is going to change with the alleged spillage and destruction of spillage from the Akosombo Dam. I mean, there are loads of things that, not being funny, they don't add up. In terms of me coming to invest in the country, whether it's knowledge, whether it's resources, whether it's whatever. So can you, do you have any insight into how we can move this agenda forward? Because the investment is not only for us to, in quote, make money, but it's for the people to grow and expand and have better hospitals, better roads, better everything, a better life. Thank you.
Good. Thanks. I think I share with you the points and the frustration that characterized your question or your observation. I'm also struggling to appreciate why technology exists, and yet we don't seem to know that this is the capability of the technology, or we still glued to our old ways of doing things, or we have left the area or the sector into the hands of people who, for one reason or the other, are not interested in some of these technologies that you spoke about. I was just wondering whether it has to do with the strategy in approaching the dissemination of the technology that you talked about. All right. Usually, I know that private sector actors are more effective at moving some of these things. And yourself mentioned some of the actors who are obviously private sector actors who could push this agenda rather than, I mean, respectfully, for public servants, who, for one reason or the other, may still appear to enjoy the status quo. I can understand, but I think that there must be a new strategy to change the last mile approach and ensure that the people who are on the canoes and other people who can use this have access to it and use it. And I'm saying that we probably need to look for some private sector agents to push that agenda rather than what it has been with both public sector agents and umbrella bodies that usually also have their own issues with some of these new technology that come up. I was going to ask you about feedback from the University of Ghana, which has access to, or it's a terminal that has access to the kind of data that you are talking about, and what they have said constrains them in disseminating both the technology and the data that emanates from it to the benefit of the people.
The government doesn't listen. Sorry, Koku, my bad.
Right. What I want us to do on that is, because I have an interest in that, I would need one of my job want to reach out to Mr. Ejekum to ask, how come we still have that info, that ability with him, and we are not seeing it, so that we could have some answers, and then we could tell the world how we're sitting on these minds. I guess that'll be fine.
Dr. Ejekum is not sitting on it. He has tried to get the information across. The last time this information, they told us about the no fishing ban for October, November, blah, blah, blah. And I said, what kind of stupidity is that? Not being disrespectful. But basically the government doesn't seem to listen. That was back in the previous government's time. The current government is seemingly doing the same thing. They had a conference in Nigeria, ECOWAS wide, last month, I think it was. Again, it seems, unless we come in as private entrepreneurs, so to speak, into that space and set it up. And I think I've come to the conclusion that we have to do it privately, be successful, and then the government might listen. Otherwise, convincing, I don't know. I mean, I sometimes get frustrated, but I'm still soldiering on how to do it. There are several projects that I've done in Ghana and certain other parts of Africa. I have one also going on in Kenya where we have a if you look at it, Agribora. They've got a website. You can check that out, where they're using the satellite data, like Francis was talking about, where they're taking the data, knowing when to plant, when to harvest. But not only that, we're using the satellite data to tell you how stressed the plant is, and therefore we can predict your harvest based on satellite data, which you can then, as a farmer, go to the bank and say, I have independent data, or go to investors and say, I have independent data that's going to predict my harvest in the next 2 months based on what they're seeing on the plant on the ground. And then using that to obtain a loan or to get money, half the harvest up front. The investor says, look, I need X number of 100 tons of this crop. We collect all the people who are growing that crop. You put the logistics in place to collect the harvest, dry the harvest, process the harvest, whatever, and boom, thank you very much. Jobs are good, but we need to put the processes in place, because if we don't, we have a problem. We need to put the processes in place so it's not haphazard here and there. Processes, procedures, implementation, because I think implementation is my key word. Yeah. How we implement in Ghana, in Africa in general, is one of our Achilles heels. We need to streamline it so everybody, as the doctor was saying yesterday, knows exactly what to do in order to achieve what they're going to achieve. There is no, go and come, Cobra. Oh, Charlie, Inava, Navajonia. And basically, they're looking for some greasing palms or wetting elbows or whatever you want to, or some kwakwa or whatever you want to call it. But the point is, we cannot carry on like that on feeding ourselves on a daily basis. We need to think of our children and our grandchildren's future. And not only that, the way that I'm thinking about it, we will be feeding the planet in 2030, 2040, 2050.
Absolutely.
But we need to start now. If we do not start now, we're on a hiding to nothing.
I see.
The Chinese are coming, the Indians are coming, the Europeans are coming, and they're taking up the land. It's not for nothing.
Thank you very much indeed, and we're grateful for all the thoughts. We will find a way of dealing with that. I just lost a message from Jackie. I wanted to read it out so we could have that finally before we go. But once I cannot get that, I guess would have to move on. But of course, now we are joined, fortunately, the man himself is back, and he joins us to speak to us away from the issues of agriculture. But of course, a big thanks to Mr. Francis Osei. Thank you very much indeed. Just as we've started, we're going to be ensuring that David Douglas Forum and of course LVS Africa will lead the way so that investors who are ready indeed will have to touch base with us. We'll have all of these tidied up before we have your investment come through. And so we're grateful. Thank you very much.
Hello, Mr. Lumo.
Hi.
I'm sorry to come in, but if you want Madam Jackie's question, I have it here. I can read it out to you. She is asking, she first of all said, thank you so much. I cannot unmute now. What is the general rate of return? What kind of funding should be best employed? This is the question. And I think this question is directed.
You were breaking. Yeah, you were breaking. I was also trying to see if I could see the question.
Yeah, so can you hear me well?
Yeah. What's the general rate of return?
So the question is, what is the general?
Okay, so I've seen the question. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I've seen the question. Thanks. All right. So I always use this philosophy that in agric, for example, you put a seed, a seed of maize, and you get a crop, all right, which is 100 multiple. But to determine the actual rate, it will vary from crop to crop. It will vary from location to location. It will vary from what approach you are using. It will vary from, so the rate of return is based on a number of assumptions, all right? A number of assumptions, but the principle is that if you do what you are doing well, you obviously will get a rate of return that is conservatively not less than 25% rate of return for the kind of investment that I have seen and I've been associated with. And I've been seen and associated with a lot of research investment because I used to be a banker and my area was financing agribusiness and agriculture. All right. But it depends upon many things. All right. So it's difficult for me to give a generalized rate of return. But it will be informed by the particular crop. It will be informed by the nature of the crop, whether it's an annual crop or a perennial crop, whether it is a high value crop and all the things that have to go with that. But certainly, if it is done right, your rate of return will be positive. All right. I have a joke to say, when investors approach me, I look at their age and I say, if you don't want too much stress, maybe you will be better off with a tree crop that would begin to fruit a few years later, but the crop can be there for a couple of decades. All right. But if you're young and you have stamina to absorb some shocks, you probably can do a short cycle crop and glean all the returns that can come out of that based on you doing the right thing. Indeed, if you don't do the right thing, you have difficulties. My friend, just in closing, we set up commercial funds for investors, and we see the dynamics, right? So things have to be done the way they have to be done to assure the returns that one needs. I think this is the response that I would give to Jackie for now.
Okay, we're grateful. Thank you very much indeed. Again, we understand that you're going to be available all the time, especially through LVS Africa and the David Douglas Forum to answer some of the questions, of course, aid those who will be interested and want to make that move. Indeed, we are all interested, and that's why we're here. So let's quickly move on away from agriculture. Let's talk about real estate and tourism sector, and it has to do with one largely that's taking center stage. Quite a number of issues here in Ghana as far as real estate is concerned. I only hope and pray that John Kelvin, who is standing by, will address some of them and to allay the fears of those who are afraid as well. But of course, Mr. John Kelvin Onyekachi is a distinguished fellow of Rotary International and Forbes Black Excellence Society. He's the founder of Investory, a 360 real estate company. He is a serial entrepreneur, property developer, real estate investment advisor, corporate trainer, public speaker, and business consulting professional from southeastern Nigeria. John Kelvin Onyekachi. For the next 30 minutes, let's hear what you have to share with us. A big welcome to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lumo. I don't know if you can hear me clearly. If you can hear me clearly.
We can.
Okay, thank you very much. And good day to everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. with respect to your location and where you are connecting from. It is my pleasure to be speaking on real estate on this platform. I want to say I do appreciate the privilege, um, and special thanks to Mr. Douglas for giving me this privilege and inviting me to speak. Okay, today very quickly I'll be talking about real estate investment in Africa, and I'll be using a case study in Nigeria. Okay, so I have this slide and I'll be running through them quickly. So, all right, so I'll be giving an overview of the real estate markets in Africa, and I'll be using Nigeria as a case study. And I'm going to start off with some stats, especially for the investors here, which I believe some of these things might be common knowledge for. I'd like us to look at it together and see some of the opportunities that are available to actually leverage on what's actually happening in Africa and in Nigeria. You know, first off, Africa is one of the locations where, to some extent, most investors are not really looking at because of some of the bottlenecks and some unpredictability. And, I believe so many investors have their own perspective towards Africa. However, it still doesn't change the fact that there are lots of opportunities here in real estate and tourism here in Africa. Also, I'll be looking at some numbers. The value of real estate markets in Africa as a whole is projected to about, $15.11 trillion as of 2018, and residential real estate dominates that market with a projected market volume of 12 trillion, in $12 trillion in 2023. Some of the big players, some of the nations who actually have a high volume, and high activity of real estate here in Africa includes Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, Morocco, Rwanda. These are big real estate locations. As a matter of fact, we have some real estate companies here in Nigeria who are spreading out, into some of these African countries because of how attractive, indigenous developers here in Nigeria are spreading out to these countries because of the common growth in the real estate industry, being experienced in those countries too. And because of that, they spread out into these top listed countries. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, with a population of over 223 million, and an estimated housing deficit of 28 million, Nigeria real estate market emerges as a compelling investment opportunity driven by robust growth. The value of the Nigerian real estate market is projected at $2.09 trillion as at 2023, and the residential real estate market, the value is projected at 1.79 trillion in same 2023. And this value is also expected to show an annual growth rate of about 7.64%, resulting in a volume of about 3.02 trillion by 2028. Real estate is actually big here in Nigeria, and it has witnessed a significant growth over the years. It has transformed. In 2022, the sector contributed over 28 trillion to the nation's GDP, a testament to its economic significance. The demand for both residential and commercial properties has been on the rise, fueled by factors such as population growth, urbanization, and increase in disposable income. One of the prominent trends in Nigeria real estate markets is a rapid urbanization taking place across major cities. We have cities like the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, cities like Lagos, cities like Port Harcourt, Enugu, Ogun, Kano, and some other major cities. The cities are experiencing a lot of real estate development in terms of residential development, commercial development, and even tourism sites and recreation sites also. As the population continues to grow, urban centers are expanding, creating high demand for housing and commercial spaces, and also infrastructural development. Now, what are the emerging trends, in real estate investment? What are people actually investing in? And emerging trends and opportunities in real estate in Africa and in Nigeria in particular includes a focus on sustainable and affordable housing solutions. As you can see from some of the stats I quoted, you can see the volume that just the residential real estate is actually doing. Because at the end of the day, as much as we want to get Africa developed, as much as we want to solve problems, as a businessman, as an investor, as an investment advisor, we're looking at volume, we're looking at what is actually thriving. So housing and development is actually, quite lucrative. And of course, it's actually lucrative because of the housing deficit. We're talking about 28 million housing deficit. These trends and opportunities indicate a dynamic and evolving real estate landscape in Africa and Nigeria. Entrepreneurs and developers who adapt to these changes and align with the market demand as well as position to succeed in the sector. Some of these trends include affordable housing, like I mentioned. They will also have sustainable building, sustainable building practices, sustainable homes, eco-friendly homes. Also have co-working spaces. We have an example of Sterling Bank. Sterling Bank is pioneering a co-working space, which also function as a relaxation space and co-working. So I think they call it one space or something like that. I came across that a few months ago, and they want to spread this across major cities in Nigeria. We also have technology integration and automation. So tech homes, automated homes, they are a big deal right now. Africa is actually catching up. Nigeria is catching up. Most developers are integrating tech solutions and automating homes into their development processes. We also have e-commerce and logistics, warehousing and the rest of it. They are also quite the trend of what developers are doing right now and what investors are investing in. We also have property tech solutions, which includes online property marketplaces, virtual property tour, blockchain used for property transactions. We also have AI-driven property management systems. And even we as an investor, we are currently developing a web app solution, which we are designing to help people be able to get properties, whether it's for they want to rent them, they want to buy them. Also, the platform will also serve, as a platform where people can easily invest, in small scale in real estate. Also give leverage for people to be able to own properties, which is also a form of investment, and also sales affiliations, which is also a big deal now in Nigeria in particular. A lot of people are getting into real estate, whether not as developers, but as affiliates to link buyers to sellers and all that. So the platform also that we're creating is going to help to solve that. Some of the trends also include rural, and agricultural real estate, also hospitality and tourism. Over here in Abuja, we have one of the major tourism sites, hospitality sites also, which is Almat Farm. I believe some of us would have heard about it. Quite a fascinating place here in Abuja. And we also have like a prime resort in Lagos. There are so many of them like that, which are hospitality and tourism sites. We also have real estate crowdfunding. Real estate crowdfunding, it's actually big right now in Nigeria, and I know it's also quite big in some other African countries, especially because of the tech solutions that have been created to help solve these problems easily. I mean, have a platform where people can easily see real estate opportunities they can crowdfund to finance and make money from. Which takes us now to some of the benefits of real estate development, of investment rather in Nigeria. Nigeria's vibrant economy and population growth offers robust demand for housing. Real estate investment in Nigeria provides an opportunity to earn steady income through rental returns and capital appreciation, which often outperforms other investment vehicles. Investing in real estate in Nigeria and across other African countries offers a range of social and financial benefits. And some of these benefits includes housing solutions. So real estate investment in Nigeria, for instance, offers you the opportunity to impact lives and contribute to addressing the over 28 million housing deficit in Nigeria, and provide shelter to the homeless and to its growing population, which also consists of lots of individuals who can actually afford the housing that we created for them. Job creation, real estate projects generate employment opportunities in construction, maintenance, property management, and other related sectors, like I mentioned, affiliates who broker or stand as middleman to broker properties here in Nigeria. So to a large extent, it reduces unemployment, which is also a major challenge we're facing here in Nigeria, that has a high population growth. We have community development. Real estate development often includes infrastructural improvements, such as roads, schools, healthcare facilities, recreational spaces, which enhances the overall quality of life and in communities. Affordable housing, investments in affordable housing solution helps to bridge the gap, in affordability and ensuring more people have access to decent and affordable homes. Capital appreciation, real estate investments in Nigeria and Africa, has a potential for substantial capital appreciation over time, allowing investors to build wealth. Rental income. Of course, Nigeria and lots of African countries have a lot of population, a working population who take up, rental properties, and so income from rental property provide a consistent source of cash flow for investors, making real estate reliable income generator. Also, portfolio diversification. Real estate offers diversification within investment portfolio, reducing risk and increasing financial stability for investors. Inflation hedge, right? So real estate investments can act as a hedge against inflation, as property value and rental income often rises in line with or ahead of the inflation rate. Tax benefits and tax incentives, deductions are often available to real estate investors, reducing their tax burden. Foreign investment, so investing in Nigeria and other countries across Africa can attract foreign direct investments, generate foreign exchange earnings, and boost the local economy. And this takes us to the sources of real estate investments and funding. So these are some of the sources through which real estate developers source funds. Nigeria's a vibrant economy and population growth, robust demand for housing. Real estate investment in Nigeria provides opportunity to earn steady income through rental returns, and capital appreciation. So some of these um, avenues through which real estate is being funded is through bank loans. Although bank loans have their own bottlenecks, especially here in Nigeria. Not quite sure of some other countries in Africa, but here in Nigeria, there are some impedances to also using bank loans. So we have real estate investment trust. We have private equity. Some real estate developers leverage on private equity companies to be able to fund their projects. We have venture capitals, and then also crowdfunding, like earlier mentioned, mortgage facilities, joint ventures, where individuals get to partner with the developer to share profits, according to whatever they're generating for each project. Also, we have foreign investment, foreign direct investment. Then we have seller financing, where the owners and sellers of the property get to finance for the buyers, and they pay over a period of time. And then we also have options of Islamic financing over here in Nigeria. We've had some successful Islamic banks who leverage on Marabaha and Ijara to be able to finance housing and real estate projects. And there are some notable projects in Nigeria that have been financed by foreign direct investments. Some of these notable ones are the Centenary City here in the capital city, Abuja. The Centenary City, the planned city development project located in Abuja, Nigeria, is designed to serve as a business and residential hub. It aims to attract international businesses, investors, and residents. The project faces significant financial challenges, related to large-scale developments, infrastructure requirements, and need for international standards. To address these challenges, the developers, required substantial capital. The developers attracted foreign direct investments by partnering with international investors and governments. This collaboration with the foreign investors provided the necessary financing to advance the project. We also have a case study of the Elegushi royal family, beachfront estate in Lagos, which also attracted foreign direct investments to this development. And these projects are quite very, very profitable projects at the moment. We have so many others, to mention a few, which are quite profitable at the moment as we speak. So over here in Investor, we have some available and proposed projects, some ongoing and some still in prospect. And these are planned and proposed projects which are a mixed development of residentials, rental properties, and commercial. Or in an investor city somewhere in Edu, which is about 12 minutes. It's about a 12 minutes drive to the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. It's a mixed-use development. We're having residence buildings. We're having apartment buildings, and then we're also having a shopping plaza, which is also a shop and business space. So the entire project on its own and the individual property being developed, like the block of flats, the apartment buildings, are all available for partnerships and with whatever form of financing that could be that investors here could be interested in. We also have I also need to say that Investor City is also a smart housing estate. We're deploying automation housing solutions. We're also deploying alternative energy, solar for power solutions, and quite a whole lot of other infrastructural solutions that we're providing in that particular housing development project. For the investor residents, somewhere quite close to the city center, we also have a proposed smart housing development, which has not commenced yet, but still in process. And then we're also working on the proposed investor homes and resort, which is in one of the suburbs of the capital city, which is Buari. So over there, we're proposing a resort kind of housing development, which integrates agriculture and and the natural landscape, and more in that particular housing development. So I would think I will end here now because I believe there will be lots of questions for me to answer. So thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. John Kelvin Onyekachi. Thank you for leading us into the world of investment in real estate and what we need to do. Before we take questions, there's been largely the talk of LVS Africa, the mention of LVS Africa as one that will become the intermediary between investors and whoever wants to invest in what the phenomenon of anything that we've discussed this afternoon. LVS Africa is where they strive with entrepreneurs to create sustainable enterprises, and is at the heart of the man himself that I'm about to introduce to you. He is the founder and executive chairman of LVS Africa Limited. He indeed has more than 20 years of executive experience, including 4 years as CEO of 14 years as CEO of Stanbic Bank Ghana. He also served as Deputy Managing Director and Executive Director at Barclays Bank Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, for some quick remarks on what we're doing here and the need to stay on course and to build enterprises and what the future holds for us. I of course welcome Chief Alassane Ghani, who is on. Chief, if you can hear us, welcome indeed, and let's hear your voice, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I've just been listening to this fabulous opportunities in Nigeria, and Africa is truly the last real frontier for investors, where you have real need meeting opportunity and decent returns. I think our colleague from Nigeria who has just presented this, it's done a fantastic job, and that's very representative of the opportunity in the real estate and infrastructure opportunities around Africa. I think, as you indicated for us, it's not for the lack of opportunities in Africa. It's also to ensure that our foreign partners will get into Africa and meet real sector investors who would partner with them and in time be the African champions. We've gone past or we should definitely be past the line where we just ask investors to come and everybody else in Africa is labor or some kind of employee. We have very well educated, very well structured young companies that we in LVS Africa, and I'm sure with other development partners, are helping to be the nestling grounds for this investment opportunities in Africa. And touch wood, with all these initiatives, in 10 to 15 years from now, we can be talking of global players in Africa, if at least for the continent, not just Nigerian big real estate investors, but real estate companies anchored in Nigeria, playing across Africa, and indeed in some parts of the world as well, working in partnerships with other investors and returning very decent and competitive returns to shareholders. So thank you very much. As we said, for LBS Africa, our effort is to ensure we have champions, African champions. You'll all know there's a lot of enterprise in Africa. Very few people sit idle. There are a lot of people doing one thing or the other. So our big question is, why do we have so many entrepreneurs and very few enterprises? So the entrepreneurial effort must translate into succeeding, powerful, well-structured, well-anchored companies long after the founders are gone. That is a big dream for LBS Africa. I believe that's a big dream for most African entrepreneurs, and then we are out here to help them. So my quick remarks, and would allow the opportunities that have been so well outlined by a colleague from Nigeria, so that prospective investors can have questions and get the appropriate responses. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Chief Alhassan and Danny. We're grateful. And with you, Mr. Kujumata, and of course, the entire team, so Malik, we know we are in safe hands, and we cannot wait to jump into the wagon and do a lot for Africa and for the world.
Thank you.
Yeah. And now let's presented in the areas of real estate and tourism. You can share with us as well. There are other people on the call as well. If you have, remember, this is our day, and so if you have any question at all, let's take it. You as much as possible before we take the closing remarks from Mr. Kujumata, who is standing by. So if there are questions, 30 seconds, you can either use the reaction button, or you can just jump straight into it. You mention your name, tell us where you're coming from, and we're good to go. It's question time now.
Okay, can I go ahead? Good evening, everyone.
Please do. Please
okay,
do.
Thank you. I actually sent the question when the first speaker was talking on agriculture. So someone sent me the question and asked me to ask on our behalf. My name is Dr. Adeyinka Adzubike. I'm the president of United Africa in One Voice. The question I asked earlier was what is the cost rather to start an agricultural project on 4 acres of land? That was the question. I don't know if the first speaker can answer that. I actually don't know what the person have in mind to do with the land, or what he wanted to plant on it. But that was the question. What is the cost of starting an agricultural project on 4 acres of land? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. All right. So once again, my response would be based on what we want to do, but it's just a matter of clearing the land. It should also be informed by what was originally on the land. If they take forest, their cost will be different. If they are smaller trees, the cost will be different. If it's a grassy area, the cost will be different. In terms of cropping, it also depends upon what type of crop you want to produce. That one would also inform what kind of fertilization protocol or regime you need to do, and all that. 4 acres, from what I have done, and a hectare will put about if it's not thick forest, something in the region of $500 per acre. But once again, it will depend upon what was already, because if you have big trees on it, you need the approach, and the cost will be different from if you don't have that. So it's a question that is difficult to answer, I must admit, because it's based on a number of things. 1 acre of maize will be different from 1 acre of rice. It will be different from 1 acre of mango plantation. It will be different from 1 acre of vegetables. All right. But I guess that specifically, I could also help later on with some of the things that we have done in the past and give you an idea about how much it will cost to do 1 acre. We have some crop budgets templates that I could share through LVS if you permit me.
Okay.
That'll be good. Sharing it
Okay.
through LVS.
Okay. I will get back. I'll send message now to know what actually she want to put on the land, so that we'll be able to
that will
explain
help.
more. Maybe
that will help.
Okay. Maybe the question will. Thank you so much.
Down.
We'll do that.
Okay.
All right, sir.
Okay. Is there any other question? Thank you very much, Doc. Is there any other question? Is there any other question on what we have discussed so far today? Anybody with any question at all? Okay, I guess we'll do all of these questions and call it for.
Hello,
Okay.
Hello.
Mr. Lumo.
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
1 second. Hello.
Right, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Adanna Oji, and I actually put my question on the chat, but it seemed like you're not reading from the chat again, because I see some questions there as well. And I'm asking concerning real estate. If there is still room for new entrants into the real estate business, and if there is, how do I go about it? How do I go about starting a real estate business? Because I see the young man who gave the presentation, gave a well-structured and very detailed presentation. So if I can get help on this, I'd be glad.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can I proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay. First of all, you asked if you can still get into real estate at the time. And the answer to that is, if real estate is still in its starting stages in Africa, as long as Africa is concerned, we have not even, to me, I still consider it that we have not even scratched the surface. We have not really maximized the potentials that Africa and these African countries do have in terms of real estate. So it's still very early. It's not late for anyone to get into real estate. It's still at its infancy. In my own, concern, there's still lots that we can do, in terms of real estate and tourism in Africa. You don't really even have much developed yet. So anybody getting in is doing it's getting in at the right time, because there's a lot of consciousness and awareness, in terms of real estate in Nigeria. For those of us who know Nigeria very well, or you can make inquiries about what is actually happening here right now. There's a lot of consciousness in regards to whether, those going into becoming players, in the real estate industry, whether those going into investments, or whether those going into, excuse me, brokerage services. It's quite a huge industry right now, and it's on a boom, and anybody getting in, at any level would make the best of it. The second question you asked is about investment, about how you can get started, right? Okay, okay, there are quite a number of things you need to know. Although, as an investor, we also have a training program. We have training programs actually, whether for those who want to get into real estate as in form of brokerage, whether those who want to get into real estate, as investors. So whatever aspects you want to use to get into it, we have programs for that. But then it's not quite complex, all right? Because it's not complex because all you need to do is just to get some needed certifications. And as a real estate entrepreneur, you have the necessary license, all right? Because of course, um, a real estate in general, a real estate developer is just an entrepreneur that brings in all the professionals together or partners with the professionals to achieve certain real estate activities. So all you just need to know is to all you just need to do is to get to know how these things actually work, which I cannot start explaining here right now because it's going to be a lot. Just know how it works, and then join the necessary bodies, get the necessary certifications, the necessary, which is not that difficult anyways. They are simple things, and then you're good to go, depending on how you want to get into the real estate, what aspect of real estate you're going into, because it's like one of the biggest industry, like that has so many. I mean, tourism. I consider tourism and hospitality to all be part of, real estate. So yes, it all depends.
Right. Thank you very much. Thanks.
And there's also a question here. I don't know who exactly this is going to, but we can get help from all the big folks here. It says, this is coming from Jackie Motor Show. For a Virgin project, how do we get through the bank guarantee challenges that most African banks cannot provide? And please, can we throw light on this? I'm not sure I have clarity on this. Right. Okay. So what are the best type of funding? And also, could we obtain the ambassador's 10 years notes? Unfortunately, I could not write. Do you have this? Okay, we'll talk about that later. But of course, Jackie is asking for a Virgin project. How do we get through the bank guarantee challenges that most African banks cannot provide? I don't know who helps this. I don't know if Chief Alhassan Andani is here, or Sekujo Mata, or any of our guests. Over to you.
I'll react to this. I always say that when you're talking investments, in fact, the bank should not be your first place to talk serious investments. The banks are, middle level in terms of facilitating investments, and I say that having spent nearly 35 years in that industry, because there are some banks that will do venture capital. The skill levels in Africa around venture capital, especially in the banking sector, is still, there are some very good banks that can do that. But Virgin projects, first of all, let's look at other sources of what I would say longer term, more interest-friendly environment that allows us to go through the experimentation, piloting, and then commercial space. Probably after piloting, when the investor does understand the investment parameters, the risk profile, and can engage, then yes, you go to these banks. Because most of the banks, unfortunately, in Africa tend to be commercial banks. And commercial banks are very short term. They're asking startups to bring 3 years financials, projected cash flows for 3 years, when the person is still needing, as the earlier question, just guidance on how to establish a 4-acre, whatever crop the person wants to put in there. So yes, and I know some development agencies, governments try and put some kind of development funding into some of these banks. The banks, and other development partners are putting structures in, but please speak to some business development agency advisory to help in terms of navigating the initial investment requirements before you go to the bank. Because a question from the bank that you are not immediately able to answer might just set you back on an otherwise very good project. So that's what I will say for now. But yes, past that experimentation into the commercial and industrial scale, there's a lot of talent and capital within these banks to do that. I wouldn't give the banks very high marks in terms of startups at the moment.
Chief, thank you very much, Chief, for that clarity. But if you're looking for the notes of Dr. Tanya, I think you can get in touch with David Douglas, Mr. So he can provide that for you as well, Jackie. So all you need to do is to get in touch with David Douglas, and then he'll do that exactly for you. Are there any questions shortly before we wrap up? If not, then we're grateful.
There is
Thank you very much
another
once
question,
again.
if Chief Andani can help us.
Okay.
It's from Akas
All right.
Manta. Is there any African investor database portal available through which we can get all investment activities and pending investment activities and status and progress of each investment made, including investment amount, investment sector, investment valuation, and most importantly, can download investment report for each of investor in PDF format? This is a tall request.
Well, look, the straightforward answer is that unfortunately, we don't have that kind of central database for Africa.
Exactly.
Even for some of the developed countries, even like Nigeria, South Africa, probably Trinidad, Ghana, Mozambique, you will get some information, but not in the great detail in which you are looking for. But if you are just an investor requiring the right set of information to make an investment decision, you will get it. But if you just wanted an armchair research to be able to click to a portal and download all this information, we are not there yet. Again, and it's not. I wouldn't say whatever information you will need in any sector, we will be able to get some pools of information that we can pull together and give you a credible guidance across the piece in Africa to enable you make an investment decision. But this would be an interesting question to take away and to start to see whether there are any research partners that we can start to tackle to see whether we can put a framework to start to build this thing across some of the important geographies before we sort of cascade that down to other places. Kojo, maybe we should take note of that.
Yeah. We shall.
Very well. Thank you very much, Chief. On that note, I just want to assure all of us that, Jackie comes back and says, honestly, my funding group were happy with everything, but they wanted this BG and this stalled this project. I guess I'll get in touch. This hurdle I need to cross. Thanks. Indeed. And I can assure you that the names and faces that you're seeing here today are people who are going to definitely help all of us in jump. Douglas Forum is here, and so we're grateful that you can join us. Keep faith with us. And now let's welcome Mr. Kojo Matah. He's a former managing director of ARB Apex Bank PLC. He has about 40 years worth of experience spanning banking, auditing, financial management, project and operations management, internal control systems design and improvement. He's also consulted for rural and community banks. He joins us to give us the closing remarks here. Thank you very much, Mr. Kojo Matah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Kokulumo. It's been 3 great days, 3 very successful days and exciting opportunities that were shared. I want to thank all the participants for your presence, the time you spent. Without you, we wouldn't have had these sessions. Again, our indefatigable moderators, Mr. Lumo and Sophie, you've spent time with us. More importantly, without the facilitators, those who made the brilliant presentations, starting from the welcome address from Nana Boja Sapon, who is the executive chairman for DDLF, through Mr. U.P. Grant. He wasn't able to be present, but he has sent his presentation, and that will be shared to those who make the request through DDLF. We have Dr. Tanya and Chipandani just shared his talk with us, but he was ably represented by Mr. Malik yesterday. Malik Adam shared all the projects that we have, ranging from the energy sector to real estate, hospitality, health, manufacturing, services, and agriculture. We have some projects, fantastic projects. The detailed projects are still available. We'll be sharing them to as many investors that we can lay hands on. Our thanks go to Dr. Vena as well. Dr. Khalid was on the call for 2 days. Professor Okolo was fantastic yesterday. Unfortunately, I don't think he joined us today. Today, Mr. Ose and has been fantastic, and our last speaker, John Kelvin. Yesterday, Mr. Daniel Robson was also supposed to join us, but he couldn't. He had a very sad situation. He lost the wife 2 days ago, so he couldn't join us yesterday. I will just ask all of us to remember him in our prayers. Losing a friend, losing a partner is not an easy thing, but he found time to reach out to me this morning, and I was even rather apologizing. I don't know where he got the strength from. A lot of us will still have been in very, very bad shape. So let's keep him in our prayers. So our facilitators and resource persons, we say thank you very much. One thing that Dr. Tanya, or the things that Dr. Tanya hammered on the first day, are the critical things investors look for. And the key among them is the stability in the country. So we should make sure that our countries are stable and peaceful as much as possible. And she also mentioned the key economic indicators. And those of us running inflation in 3 digits, depreciation of our currencies in 4 digits, and every other thing going the wrong direction. These are things that scare away investors. And when those who arrogated to themselves the powers to rate our countries give us all the bad indications, these are the very challenges that we face when we are looking for investors. And while the investors are looking at return on investments and a very good environment to do business, that they'll be able to get their monies back. If there is no peace in our countries, the first thing they will look at is the place is tourism. So let's ensure that we do everything possible to protect the peace that we enjoy in our various countries. Above all, let's ensure that we are able to position the projects that we have as very profitable and bankable projects that will be attractive to investors. And when the projects make profits and the investments are repeat, I believe that will be a win-win. for Africa and the investors. I hope that we will continue to have mutually beneficial relationship, collaboration and partnership with investors and those bankable projects that we shall develop. This program is supposed to be an annual event, and we'll be looking forward to have another one next year. But those are details that are reserved for Mr. David Douglas Tingley. On behalf of LVS Africa, we want to express our thanks to all the participants and investors who joined us. And we want to say that we are available for any other inquiries that you want to make. And I put our emails in the chat box. If you are not able to get it and you reach out to David, he will also be able to reach out to us. So let's enjoy the remaining hours that we have in the day. If you are listening to us where you are starting the day, enjoy the day. If you are getting into the evening, have a good evening. And let's all have a blessed weekend. Thank you very much. Back to you, Kopu.
Thank you very much indeed. We're grateful. Thank you very much. We're grateful. That's Mr. Kojo Mata. So this brings us to the end of the maiden edition of the Africa Investment Expo. This is what we describe as a global stage for opportunity. So anytime you think investment, you think opportunity, there are misconceptions around you, all you need to do is to get in touch with the David Douglas Leadership Forum or LVS Africa, and that will be your gateway to answers and, of course, opportunities that we're grateful. Thank you very much indeed. We're hoping and praying that the next session or the next edition of the Africa Investment Expo will be in person, just as we planned, and so that we can all meet. And at that, we'll begin to share testimonies and, of course, stories of what this particular expo has been able to do. We're grateful. Thank you very much indeed for joining. Share the, go spread the gospel, spread the word, and let's meet on, larger platforms in the future. My name is Kokulumo. A big thanks to all of you. Have a good day, have a good night, and have a good afternoon as well. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, Kweku. So I can see in the chat box,
Jackie will
Madam
be glad
Jackie.
to welcome you to Ghana. So let me know what it takes for you to come to Ghana. Our office is a walking distance from the airport. So we don't even need Uber to come to the office.
Yes, Madam Jackie is suggesting in the chat box it should be a quarterly event. That is right. We're still planning and looking forward if we can do this in February, but we call it Peace, Investment and Tourism Summit, and we're still planning that. And if that is successful, we will reach out to you and let you have it. Thank you very much, and thank everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chairman. God richly bless you.
Good.
All right, so God bless everybody who has made time to be with us. Thank you, Felicia. Mr. Malik, good to see you. Right. Thank you very much for moderating this session, and thank you so much. Investment and Tourism Summit, and if possible, we need to bring. I'll let you know.